Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
Because we're not either, we don't have the right message or
Right.
we don't have the right platform for that message.
It's a storytelling challenge, right? I mean, how do you convey that? And I'm not saying it's easy and that I have the miracle solution. It's not like, oh, okay, you say we're hospitable, and that comes, they understand that. And I can say that from my own personal experience, having, started working with DRA and then actually meeting the board members. I mean, it clicked for me. So I'm not saying it's easy, and I would love to tell you that I've got the magic potion marketing solution that's going to make it all wonderful. I don't. But it is, I think, a really important point that you can focus on and think about how do you tell that story. But I have some ideas, okay? Just you wait. Hey, look, 5 recommendations. All right. So there's lots of key insights that have come from this information. I tried to, like I said, really boil it down. There's certainly more than 5 different things that you can do, but this is what rose to the top for me that I wanted to dig into specifically for you all. Okay. Keep your potential guests in mind, right? This seems like an obvious one, but I think we forget it, right? Again, we've got to think about where these people are coming from, the type of experiences they want to have. They might not now necessarily be horse lovers, right? It's not means that they don't like horses or they think horses are awesome, but they might not be riding every day or have ever in their lives, and I know you guys have guests like that too. So we broke it down into 3 things. Repeat guests, horse lovers, experiential travelers. So with your repeat guests, they know they love the dude ranching experience, right? As this gentleman just talked about. I mean, they know what hospitality is. They know that experience. So I know you probably all do this, but it's a good reminder to look at your word of mouth opportunities. How do you, in the era of experience, when people want to have bragging rights, how do you get them to continue to spread the word about what you offer? Horse lovers. They may be aware of you. I think most of them are. That they could take a dude ranch vacation if they're horse owners. They've got a passion for horses. Certainly there's a natural connection there. Think about partnership opportunities, right? American Horse Council, I think it's American Horse Council. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it. When I was looking in and digging in, they have a Time to Ride website that's all about getting more and more people involved in riding and horse-related activities. And they mention you could go to a dude ranch, but it's literally like 1 or 2 words, and it doesn't go in deeper. Is there a partnership opportunity with them, right? Is there a partnership opportunity with like-minded brands? Who is really portraying, Western heritage in their advertising? Sometimes Ralph Lauren is doing that. Do you think about opportunities with that, okay? Again, I'm not solving your problems. I'm just telling you what the audience says. And here are some thoughts. And then these experiential travelers, right? This is an expanded target audience. They've got a low awareness. They have a low understanding. However, they are seeking what you have, okay? Obviously, there's some storytelling opportunities there, possibly some product refinement, right? They do have that aspect of the golden era. They don't want necessarily the polyester sheets. They don't want to necessarily be on a horse all day. Or even, maybe, they might even think to themselves, oh, I'll go, but I'm not going to ride, maybe just one day. And they get there and they love it and they ride all the time. But you want to think about, they have never been, they didn't know what the experience is like. How do you sell them the experience? I also want you to consider the important consistencies among yourselves. And this came up, I think Clay mentioned it this morning when he was talking about the need for you all to work together, right? And this is where the DRA can really come together and work and take the lead, but I think you also need to think about it too. All right, so what's consistent? Outdoors nature, right? That experience, that being in the outdoors experience is consistent. The relationships, I heard this loud and clear from the board, the relationships between yourselves, the relationships between you and your guests, between your staff and your guests, between your guests and the other guests, and the guests just among their core family unit, right? Those relationships are really powerful. And you all feel that, and you know that, okay? And then the shared values. Those are really powerful values that you have. Bringing those to life. And it really comes down to that kind of emotional, experiential aspects. Okay, so you need to talk about the emotional, experiential aspects first before you get into the details. Because this is what varies between not only different people who want to come to a dude rangification, but also yourselves, if you think about it. Authenticity, I put that in quotes. Authenticity, to some people, they want to go to Colorado Cattle Company and do the real thing, right? Other people, Joe, he thinks he wants an authentic dude ranch experience, but really, what is authentic to him? Authentic's a little bit more, spa-like, maybe not riding every day, fly fishing, right? So, authentic is going to be determined differently for different people. Price points and quality, that's going to change too. Activities, right? What are the range of activities that you are willing or interested or want or currently offering? So those are the details. So our advice to you is to determine the details, and this is going to help you tell your story better. Okay? You really got to think about if you're going to diversify or narrow. Okay, you can decide how you want to approach this. Okay, but this is going to help you, as I said, in your storytelling. All right. And I want to make sure that I make all these points because these are really important points to make. If you diversify and broaden your range of activities, that might mean that your guest isn't on a horse every day. They still want the horse, right? You can't have a ranch without a horse. But this is where you relate those activities to Western heritage, both past and present. Okay, this could be a lower end, this could be a higher end experience, but you're diversifying. And it really becomes like a family outdoor camp. That's how one of our participants described it. Okay. And for this, when you broaden the experience, when you diversify, the accommodations are going to become more and more important. Okay? People are thinking about the lodge, right? The porch. They're thinking about the bedroom, the dining places. Who are they going to sit next to at dinner? All right. They want it more personalized and less probably group style. Now, I'm an outsider. I'm an outsider. And when I came here yesterday, this is a very personalized experience. Maybe from an outside perspective, it might be a group experience because there's one set eating time. But you have to really get into the mindset of how do you describe how personal it is. You want to avoid all-inclusive. The term all-inclusive, like the plague. All right, that does not mean personalization. You want to really make it special, different than what they could experience, like Laura talked about, renting a condo. Okay, so how do you talk about that in a way that's meaningful? You think about, people. And when you're renting a condo, you don't get to hang out and see the horses or see that experience. So if you narrow the range of activities, you become more like a very real, experiential dude ranch vacation. I'm pointing out Tom from Colorado Cattle Company because I had a chance to talk with him and get to know him through the experience. But it's very real, right? It's where you're part of the crew. Like people are getting their nails dirty and they're digging in, and it's definitely different levels of authenticity there. But that to this target audience is a working ranch. Yes.
Just that word, the comment you made about avoiding all-inclusive. Is anybody here from Home Ranch?
Selena's here.
Christine.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, hey. Well, okay, so I've been looking at your website. We just redid ours, and so I counted how many times I had the word all-inclusive. And Eric Lundy, he was here, or he was in San Diego last year, and my son met him, and he all-inclusive is just all over them, because Google loves that, and that really picks you up. So kind of what you're saying is just the opposite. I mean, we don't want people to think that, you know, it's going to be for the masses and low quality, but Google sees that, and it just bumps them up.
I know.
Huge. So how do we combat that?
I know, it's a huge challenge because, you know, they, like I said, they like the concept, right? They like the concept of all-inclusive, leaving their wallet, you know, at the door. But, you know, the term itself has become just, you know, so I don't have an answer to that question in terms of, you know, how do you still deal with the bump you get from Google, but don't play it down. Okay. Yeah. What time is it? Uh-oh, I'm 15 minutes over. Can you hang in there 5 more minutes? Okay, all right, cool. So help eliminate confusion for your audience. Now I might just blow that 5 minutes out of the water because you might be like, okay, what is she talking about here? So Doug, one of our online discussion participants, talks about Dude Ranch conjures a very suburban image in his mind. That's the thing you want to avoid. You don't want to be like everyone else. You don't want to be like suburbia. Mark, I talked about Working Ranch conjures up the authenticity that he's looking for. So, you know, as you saw, we asked them about dude. The current categories on the DRA website are Working Dude Ranch, Traditional Dude Ranch, Resort Dude Ranch. Based on what I heard from the online discussion forum participants, they want to just get rid of the dude and think about breaking yourselves up into Working Ranch, Traditional Ranch, Resort Ranch. Now, if you determine the details that'll help you with your storytelling, okay, then you can better define where you are, and you're going to make it easier for your potential target audience to find you and not get frustrated because they have to go through over 100 ranches to try to find one that fits for them. Now, I know the DRA website has the feature where you can go in and click on different things that relate to you. I've used it. It's fantastic. It's a great tool. But it would be even easier if I, as a consumer, could go onto the DRA website, click on Working Ranch, see my options there, click on Traditional Ranch, see my options there, as well as Resort Ranch, and have definitions, sharper definitions. So essentially, I'm asking you to think about sharpening your language to help your target audience. My last point. See, I told you I was close. All right, my last point. Evolve the experiential elements of your story. And I left this last because this is the most important part of what you can do. Mark. He can recreate just about anything. He can go for a hike and feel like a hiker. He can go fly fishing and feel like a fly fisherman, right? But what he cannot do on his own is recreate a ranch experience. He cannot feel like a rancher without a ranch. And he can't have a ranch without going to a dude ranch vacation. Okay? This is so important. And I thanked him for articulating this because I couldn't have said it better myself. What you offer is an access and an exclusiveness to something that people cannot recreate on their own. Do not forget that. And what you need to do is talk about how to evolve your storytelling, okay? So, less about all-inclusive, okay? Less about the horse. You're talking about helping people imagine themselves sitting on the porch after a wonderful day in the nature, in the outdoors, seeing a wild animal off in the distance, having their kids play on the grass, unsupervised, enjoying, kicking back, getting ready for a delicious meal, something that really only can take place at a dude ranch and not somewhere else. That's it. Yeah.
Back towards the beginning when you said that out of these participants in the online forum that luxury wasn't a requirement.
Yep.
But yet those top 4 people that ranges that you put up that are not part of the DRA
Yep. Yep.
are all about luxury.
Yep.
I'm a little confused in the
in the yin and
in
yang
the
of that.
contradiction
Yeah.
of the two, because, you know, I think when you're saying stay out of the all-inclusive term, places not dude ranchers
Right.
have muddled the term
Yes.
that it's really not, because there's a tip jar, or everything is $5, $10, the Wi-Fi, the parking,
Right.
which none of us do. We are all-inclusive. So in the people that you talked to, those who were thinking was in the kitchen,
Yeah.
how did you pull out that the luxury? I get the non-polyester sheets,
Yeah.
but where did that fit in, the luxury not being a requirement?
So with our Think TNO, our proprietary group of 1,000 people, we screen them as to whether they will only stay at an all-inclusive 4-star luxury resort, or whether they will, you know, what type of accommodations are they willing to do. And so what we know is that they don't have to have a luxury experience. They still want clean, contemporary, you know, thanks to that golden era, right? They have some requirements, but it doesn't, these people don't, they aren't necessarily, they aren't necessarily paying for or wanting a luxury experience. The reason why I showed you those 4 luxury resorts is because they are getting the media attention, and thus they're setting the definition of a dude ranch for consumers, even if they can't afford that luxury high-end resort. They're still defining what a dude ranch vacation is, the perception of. And so then when they go themselves to think about, okay, I want to think about what I can afford, you know, here are my options. Oh, I have a minimum 3-night stay. Well, I don't know if I really want a minimum 3-night stay. I just wanted to come for dinner because I'm passing through and I want to check it out before I bring my whole family of 4. It's totally hypothetical, but it's an example. Okay. Gentleman in the back.
So everything, sorry about my voice, everything I hear lately says that experience.
Right.
It seems like all the studies say it. And yet, you know, I heard my fellow ranchers say that the snowboarding or the
Yeah.
skiers, the fishers,
Yeah.
and the riders are shrinking. And I
Right.
believe it.
Yeah.
It's more passive stuff.
Yeah.
So it feels like, it's almost like the red convertible in the front of the car lot and everybody buys the minivan.
Right.
It feels like they want the experience because they really aren't doing it, and it's becoming more and more passive. And certainly our guests are getting in worse and worse physical conditions.
Sure. So how does that make sense?
So
yeah.
is it maybe they think they want this, and they want this ranch experience, but they really also want that high thread count sheet,
Right.
the food, the top shelf drink.
Yes.
Is that really what?
Yes. I mean, some people still want the working ranch, right? They still want they want the real thing, right? But I think you're seeing that, you know, they still want the high thread count, right? And so I'll give you an example, okay? Who here in this room is familiar with Patagonia? All right? Now, Patagonia, its origins is a rock climbing, right? Rock climbing brand. How many of you have been rock climbing? Okay, so North Face, right? North Face, summiting peaks, right? North Face is all mainstream. So what we're seeing is that people want to think of themselves as, you know, hardcore adventurers, but they really aren't. So we're seeing, I mean, the same thing, like with, we actually did a presentation at Outdoor Retailer, which is the Outdoor Industry Association's trade show. I did it this last summer. And, you know, the core, right, the core people of their particular outdoor activity is getting smaller, but that doesn't mean that they can't attract these people who, you know, who might not be horse owners, but want to go and be on a ranch. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, yes.
Kurt, what we've found too is that experience may not be, they want the ring of authenticity, they want the experience, but sometimes experience, what we've found, we do horse clinics and we bring
Yeah.
is the experience is to be in the presence of it. It's not necessarily to have their hands in it. And so,
I couldn't have said it better.
so what we do is what we've found is that if we push, well, we don't try to push their involvement necessarily, we just try to create a culture that they can be in the presence of an experience that they can't experience on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, when we read reviews, when we talk to our guests and do our marketing, post-marketing research, it's rare that we have someone that says, I will go back because I get to take this ride or
Right.
do this thing. It's relationship, it's authenticity of the relationship, or the authenticity.
Yeah, I'll say something, but let's get these guys coming in.
Absolutely. Honestly, I cannot have said it better myself. And that's why I take the example, of sitting on the porch, feet up, maybe you're having a cup of coffee, watching the sunrise. That is the experience, right? That is just as much of the experience as being on the horse. And for this audience, it's more important part of the experience.
And that goes to what we're talking about as far as passive.
Yes.
The passivity part is that if you feel like, so one of the quotes that you have is accessibility of the experience.
Yes.
Or accessibility and experience. And I think that accessibility of the experience, because lack of accessibility is probably the number one term in any of these specific, whether it's fly fishing, we see that. So by reducing the threshold of accessibility, whether it's riding horses or anything else, does seem to create a contrary to people.
All right.
Okay, guys, McLaren's gonna be around for the rest of the day, is that correct?
I'll be here through lunch for sure.
Okay, so any questions, we gotta get on with our program, where the chef's here and everybody's
Uh-oh.
meet. So let's have a big hand. Okay, now is, we're going to introduce the vendors for you guys so you know who's here. We've got quite a few new vendors this year. We're also going to give out the Associate Member of the Year Award. And it's going to go to someone who I've known for quite a few years. You guys